Monday. Today is the last Monday of 2024. So the last time we're going to do this year. Hope you all had a great Christmas and a great celebration of the holidays over the last week. As I think it was last Monday, was on here for Mindset Monday. We took a break on Wednesday for Christmas, took a break on Friday as well. It's great to be back with you. So as we do today's Mindset Monday, we're going to focus on the idea of reflection as a mindset. I thought it was only fitting as we're wrapping up the year. This just seems like not just a familiar and maybe appropriate time to do some reflection. I don't know about you, but I've done this many, many years, and I know lots of people do, right? They're kind of wrapping up one year, like spending some time to reflect on how the year went, and maybe if you had set some goals early in the year, or for some people, they may have like a word or a phrase of the year, or they may have a bucket list for the year, or they had ideas or aspirations that they were hoping would play out during the year. And then for others, this idea we anticipate the new year, right? You think about the idea of setting goals, in this case for 2025, or having a bucket list for the next year, or having a word, a phrase, or a statement that you're going to hold on to as a mantra in the coming year. Some of you have the tradition of New Year's resolutions, things that you're committing to in the new year. So with all of that kind of momentum in mind, I want to take a few moments today, again, to talk about reflection. So reflection is this idea of it's self-discovery, right? So why reflection? Why reflection matters? I think there's a few important things about reflection that are important for us. In the midst of our busy lives, in the rush and the hustle of all that we do, I think sometimes we struggle to slow down to do this thing of reflection. So when I say why does reflection matter, there's three kind of key points that I want to share with us as we prepare for some reflection of 2024. So the first is it builds self-awareness. So understanding yourself is the foundation for growth. So when we can pause and we can reflect, it increases our self-awareness. The second thing that I think is key about reflection is it deepens learning. It deepens learning. So reflections turn experiences, good or bad, into lessons. Like I know what moments when I do some reflection, I learn some incredible things, right? When I've had experiences or I've had situations or circumstances, and I take a moment to kind of circle back and do some reflection, I look for moments to learn. In fact, for years, I taught competitive soccer. And one of the things I loved doing with the team is I remember watching game film. Game film is a way for us to reflect. So whether it's a sport or some other activity, or maybe you do this in your professional job, take time to reflect. So in the case of game film, right after the game was all over, right, the day after or a few days after, we'd go back and watch the game again. Watch for key plays and watch for the shape and the formation of the team. Watch for key passes, setups, plays, any of those things that we kind of had practiced, we had prepared, or maybe in those things that happened spontaneously. In the midst of that, when we're watching game film, was we're going back to watch it and see what worked and what didn't work, what was good and what was bad. You know, if there were things that were bad, and things we want to learn from, things that we don't want to repeat again, or things that we want to shift or change or do differently, but things that were good, we want to replicate. We want to do them again. We want to figure out why it worked and how we can do the same thing again to get the same results again. Okay, so this idea of reflection deepens learning. And then this last one I think is important for us to point out is this idea is it fuels progress. It fuels progress. So when you reflect, you're better equipped to make intentional decisions. Right, back to this idea of game film. It fuels progress. So when we learned what worked or didn't work in the game by going back and watching the film, it fuels the progress when we get back to the field or the pitch or wherever it is that you're playing the game or learning a skill or doing something. It fuels progress to be able to know what to work on and what to practice and how to focus so that you can continue to get better. I ask you a question for a second. Maybe consider this. Have you ever had one of those like aha moments? Like you've experienced something, and in the midst of that, there's like this aha. Like what I mean by aha is like something profound, right? Is discovered. That's what reflection is. That's how reflection works, right? When we can pause, when we can take a moment, and we can do these things, right? It builds self awareness, it deepens learning, it fuels progress by reflecting back on a circumstance, a situation that has already taken place. So, as we apply this into the idea of mindset, I just want to walk us through three simple assessment questions. They're really the idea of uh, an exercise around guided reflection. Okay, so consider these three questions: what, so what, and now what? In fact, if you're able to, if you've got a pen, a piece of paper, if you've got your phone out, I would encourage you to just write these down. These three questions: what, so what, and now what? Okay, so let's walk through these three guided reflection assessment questions. The first one, when I said is what, so think of a recent experience or challenge you faced. Describe it in one or two sentences. So the question of what, think of a recent experience or challenge you faced, described it in one or two sentences. Okay, it's this idea of being able to, let's identify what the situation was. Let's identify what the circumstance was. Let's identify what the experience was. Okay, question number one, what? Right, think about a recent experience or challenge you faced, described it in one or two sentences. So take a moment, if you can have a pen or piece of paper, or you've got your phone or some other way to just identify a recent experience or challenge that you faced. And then just jot down, if it's in sentence form, bullet point, whatever it is, some way to be able to say, okay, this is the identified situation or circumstance. Okay, next is the question of so what? So now that we know the what, this idea of so what? Why was this experience significant? Another question is what did you learn? So again, after we've asked the question of what was the experience or the challenge you faced, the next question of so what? So why was this experience significant? What did you learn? So again, same thing, just jot this down. So what? So what made this situation important or significant? And what have I learned as a result of the situation, circumstance, or experience? All right. And then the third one is now what? Now what? How can you apply this lesson moving forward? I think this question is so important to our growth. Now what? It's simply this idea of being able to say, so if something has happened and I've paused to reflect on it, and I've been able to identify an area of growth, or I've been able to identify a lesson learned, it naturally connects to this third question and be able to say, so now what do I do with this growth? What do I do with this bit of information, this insight, this new learned uh, thing that I've taken away from reflection? Well, we put it into this now what? How do we apply this in the future? Right? When we come to a certain situation that might be similar to the one that we've already experienced, how might we apply those insights into the next situation? When a situation has happened and we've been able to take something away from it as a learned something learned, or some new insight, or some way that we're wiser because of it, we apply it in the next time we get in a similar situation or similar circumstance, or we have this new insight for us to be able to use when we are caught in new challenges, or find ourselves in the way of new obstacles. Okay, so back to these three questions, really simple. These guided reflection questions. What? So, what was the situation or circumstance? So, what? What made it such a big deal? And what did I learn? And now what? How am I going to apply this in the future? How am I going to take this insight and make this a part of my growth? Okay. So I think it's also important for us, as we're talking about this mindset of reflection, we have to be able to identify, man, as simple as it sounds, I think for most of us, it's actually pretty challenging. There tends to be a lot of excuses, obstacles, barriers to be able to do this simple task of reflection. So just take a moment and maybe consider for yourself, what gets in the way your ability to reflect? I'm just going to give you two that I thought of that I know often happen with me, and I think may happen to you, and I know they happen to many others as well. And the first one is the idea of, we might say, well, I just don't have enough time. Like, I'm just so busy, I got so much going on, right? There's always something happening, right? Like, I set my alarm, I jump out of bed, I get in the shower, I get ready to work, I jump in the car, I listen to my favorite podcast or the radio, I get to work, I work all day nonstop, I get back in my car, I crank up my favorite tunes, I go home, I eat something, I hang out with my family, I talk to my friends, I watch my favorite show, I go to bed, I wake up, and I do it over and over and over and over. And it's this idea of, I ain't got time for that, right? I ain't got time to reflect. I don't have time to simply slow down to be able to do this kind of work. So here's a challenge for you. Set aside 5 minutes. That's it. Just 5 minutes. 5 minutes every day. And here's what you can do in that 5 minutes. Keep a journal. Like, keep a reflection journal. Whether that is your nightstand by your bed, whether that's your desk at work, whether that is on the counter in the kitchen, wherever it is, right? It's in your backpack, it's in your purse. Find a small journal and just dedicate that as a reflection journal. And 5 minutes every day, open that journal and respond to this prompt. What went well today? That's it. What went well today? Respond to that question. Or another one, what could I do differently? Another simple prompt. Go back to those three questions that I referenced earlier. What? So what? Now what? So the idea is just find a simple prompt, simple question every day. Spend 5 minutes of reflection. So whether it's in the morning and you're reflecting on yesterday, whether it's in the evening and you're reflecting on today, whether it's at the end of the week and you're reflecting on the week behind you, or like we often do this time of year, it's the end of the year and we're reflecting back on the year behind us. Okay, so again, one of the greatest challenges that I find, and I think many people do, is this idea of just not having enough time. Again, just start simple, start small, set aside 5 minutes. I mean, even if for now that 5 minutes needs to be something like multitasking, like you're doing it in the car while you're driving, but instead of your podcast playing or the radio blaring, you're going to turn that down, right? And you're going to spend a few moments to kind of decompress from your workday or gear up for your workday. or school day or whatever it might be, and you're going to spend 5 minutes to reflect. Okay, the other, I think, most challenging barrier to overcome is just not knowing where to start. I hear that about lots of habit formation. Like, I really want to fill in the blank. Like, I really want to get in shape, or I really want to lose a few pounds, or I really want to change my diet, or I really want to uh, read more or learn more, or I really want to develop a new skill, or I really want to, whatever it might be. Again, fill in the blank. Oftentimes, it's this barrier of, but I just don't know where to start. And I think that's true with the habit of reflection. I just don't know where to start. Okay, so I talked about, well, you can start, right? Start 5 minutes every day. You can pull out a journal, right? And you can keep track by these simple prompts, right? It makes me think of, not everyone does journals. Like, I know for me, even though I talk about them all the time, the value of journals, the reality is it's hard for me to keep a journal and to keep up with the journal. So consider maybe a few other strategies that really work towards the same goal. So if you're a journaler, like, props to you, great, like, love it, keep it up. But if you're not somebody who journals, consider consider like maybe a voice memo, like literally just like pull out your phone, right? Find the record feature, and just start talking into your phone as if you were writing a journal entry, but in this case, you're doing a voice journal entry. I think there's something powerful about being able to hear your spoken words as you say them into your phone or into some recorder. I think another strategy that can be super effective is to have a daily conversation with somebody. I mean, we actually, many of us do this without even thinking about it. Like, you might get home at the end of the day from work, and if you have a spouse, or maybe you have a child, or you just have a roommate, or maybe it's just a friend who you might ask them, like, how was your day? And what that does is that opens the door to have a reflective conversation, right? Talk about your day, right? The what, so what, now what, the idea of what went well today, or what could I do differently next time, right? Just start conversations, but reflective conversations in this case, I think, are very, very helpful. Okay, so last thing about this is I've given you some ideas, I've given you some options. So here's what I would do, as is this idea of a challenge, is I would just challenge you, as I mentioned, start simple, start small. You can consider 5 minutes a day, whether you can set that aside to, with your cup of coffee in the morning, or whether that's your morning commute, whether that's in the evening while you're winding down, whether it's in bed before you go to sleep, whatever that is, set aside your 5 minutes and then use one of these strategies, right? A journal that you're going to write in, a voice memo, and a recording that you're going to talk into, or some kind of relational conversation that you can have with someone else that is reflective. Okay. So as we wrap up for today, today is a great day to start. 5 minutes today, where you can reflect on today, or you can reflect on yesterday. But here's an additional thing I would ask you to consider. I mean, I know today is, what's today, January 30th, right? We got one more day, right? Tomorrow is January 31st, the last day of 2024. I think it's a great idea if you can carve out a little bit of time, whether it's today, tomorrow, even if that's into later this week, into 2025. Take a little bit of time just to reflect back on this year, 2024. Right? Like, what worked and what didn't work, and what was good and why was it good, and what was bad and why was it bad, and what did you learn, and what insights did you gain, what growth happened, what maturing took place, right? Start to ask these questions, consider these things. When we come back next Monday, we're going to pick up on this, and we're going to talk about our forward thinking goals. So next Monday we'll be into 2025. We're going to talk about what it looks like and what it means to start setting goals, and then to be able to have measures and metrics, right, for us to be able to start tracking those goals, stay motivated with those goals into the new year to build some healthy habits. All right, it's great to spend these few moments with you guys. Uh, Happy New Year. I almost said Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas is over. Happy New Year to you all. Hope you have a wonderful wrap up to your 2024 and kick off to your 2025. In fact, one last note about this week. We are going to take a break on Wednesday for our Wellness Wednesday because it is New Year's, but we are going to be back on Friday. So I'll see you on Friday. We're going to do Faithful Friday. God bless you guys.